they'll know what it's all about. But I thought whether it's by chance or whether it's clever from Pep's part, this won't be the first time that back four's played together. They would have done it on numerous occasions in the academy for the under-23s. So they'll know each other's game inside out, but it's different, playing over the road at the fantastic Academy Stadium to under the lights at the Etihad, but it's a great opportunity for them, and the way these players are brought through now, it's just not all to be good footballers, it's to be strong mentally and have a strong mentality, and that'll get tested tonight, but look, they'll all rise to the occasion because they're all top players already.
I've just had in my ear as well, we'll bring you the Wycombe team news in just a bit, but Akinfenwa is starting for Wycombe, so I can say straight away, the beast, that's going to be a handful for, well, at least Luke and Betty anyway, who I'm very, very excited to see, Brownie. Looking at the other side of the pitch, there are a few names there that we definitely will know. But Phil Foden starting, of course, we know he's had that little injury since the Euros. It's looking like he's going to have a move to a more central position, Brownie, of course, a position that you know so well. Having seen him over the last couple of seasons, do you think that suits him, and is that where he can flourish and will get the best of him?
I think what's impressed everybody is that being able to go in that wider area and play so well, get man of the matches in huge games, and that's brought something different. A different thing maybe that Pep Guardiola didn't realise he was going to go on and do. You're sort of thinking he's going to play the 8, somewhere in that middle of the park. So tonight he might get that opportunity to go and play and dictate the game, be more on the ball, try and make things happen. I think what's important for Phil Foden was this game. I think it's a perfect game for him to get up to speed, get ready for the next couple of weeks. Some tough games, as we know, and he'd be itching to get involved, get him back on the pitch. And when you've been out injured for a period of time, it does take time to get up to fitness. You can do everything you want, on the training pitch, but there's that little touch, that little understanding when people are doing different things and around you.
And off that, when you come back from an injury, is that why kind of saying if it's not quite like coming straight into a Chelsea game, you can just get that match fitness which people talk about so much, which isn't just physically, but it's up there as well, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And I think what you want to do as well is say if you've got any sort of chance of playing at the weekend, you'd probably want to play around 60, 75 minutes, so your fatigue's not too much for these players. So we'll see what happens with Phil Foden. The game sometimes doesn't allow it. If you're not ahead and winning comfortably, especially with a younger team, Pep Guardiola might not be able to make that change.
Looking then further forward as well, Raheem Sterling, Paul, started up front against Southampton, and we knew we just couldn't quite find our rhythm. We'll look at that in a little bit. But I'm guessing it's going to be Ferran Torres back down the middle. Do you have a preference? Who do you think is better suited to that more central false 9 striker role between the two?
If it was this time last year and we looked at the front three, what we think it's going to be, you probably would have said it would have been Ferran in one of the wide areas and Raheem down the middle because he'd done that before. But Ferran Torres, for me, since he's had the opportunity he's had to play down the middle, he's looked really impressive. And not just with the goals he's scored, his ratio's really good, but his movement off the ball, he's from a centre forward's point of view and a number 9's point of view, he's always looking, if he's coming short, he's always looking to spin in behind. If he's going longer, he's coming in to get it short. He runs the line really well as well. He gives himself half a yard when he wants to make a little bendy run down the side. And for somebody who's not supposed to be an out-and-out number 9, he's taken to it so well. And I actually think that's his best position now. He's a threat. He scores goals, left foot, right foot, in the box, outside the box. And he's still young. There's going to be so much more to come from him. But the more goals he gets, the more chances he gets playing in that number 9, the better he's going to get.
I think for me, what's going to be interesting is whether Pep Guardiola picks him in these, the 3 big games we've got coming next week. Are we going to see that false 9 with Kevin De Bruyne, Bernardo or something, or are we going to see the trust go on to Ferran Torres? And I think that's going to tell us a sort of the story of where Pep Guardiola really sees him.
I think that'll probably change from game to game. I know we're on about the game tonight, but the Chelsea game to the PSG game to the Liverpool game, I think that front 3 will change, depending tactically what he wants to do. Where it is with a false 9 that's worked so well
you
before.
Would feel if you were him, though, Paul, you'd have to, mentally, you'd want to play in one of those 3.
Yeah.
Have I got there? Have I done enough? If he doesn't feature in any of those 3, sometimes that system can go against you because he might seem to want to use the false 9 or somebody not through the middle in all of those games. So
I think if you look last season, the false 9 was the go-to formation, especially in the bigger games, and it seemed to work more often than not. But I think you're right there, Brownie. It'll say a lot about Ferran Torres, whether he gets picked in these big games or not, and exactly where Pep thinks he is at the minute.
We spoke about as well, of course, we know goals is so important. We didn't quite sign that striker. Does having the fluidity of that forward 3 and actually a whole host of players, I even looked at the bench there. You've got Jesus can play there. Cole Palmer, James McAteer. The fact they have that fluidity in such a great array of talent there, that maybe, you know, getting goals isn't going to be the problem if we create the chances we can create.
I think chances are going to come along. We know that. Some exciting attacking players. But would the football club and Pep Guardiola still want a natural number 9 who would stay there to give you something different? Yeah, it's no secret. Pep Guardiola actually said he tried to sign somebody. It didn't happen. He's happy with the squad he's got. We move on. We've seen how good they were last season. So that happens. But look at the attacking players that are at the football.
I think any time we have an off day like we did on Saturday, the finger's always going to get pointed that we didn't sign a number 9.
Yeah.
Nobody's talking about the 6 goals against Leipzig, the 5 goals against Arsenal, the 5 goals against Norwich, before that, or even 5 goals here last game of the season against Everton. You know, nobody sees that as a problem, but probably left ourselves wide open a little bit when we don't score a goal for that to happen. But talking about the false number 9, any one of the front 5 could play there and has played there previously. You know, Kevin's played up there, Phil's played in there, Riyad's played in there, Raheem and Varane. So we could possibly see all 5 of them at some point playing in that position tonight.
This is going to sound like such an obvious question, but how difficult
Go on,
is
then.
it? Yeah.
What are you gonna give us?
How difficult is it though, for players to be able to do that? You know, because I've not seen any other team take your centre midfielder and play him in a striker, or take your winger and put him on the other side, or maybe drop him into a centre attacking midfielder role. Is it the coach, or is it the ability of the players?
Well, I think you've answered the question. We've seen fullbacks go to central midfield, which we'd never ever seen before. We've seen other players go to different. I mentioned Phil Foden going from that central role into a wide area, attacking in wide right hand side and left hand side. So Pep Guardiola, that's what he does. That's why he's the best coach. We know that, and he has something different all the time. And it's it must be great to go and learn off him, to realise the difference within that squad of different roles you can go and play. It's just going to make you better.
And I think the answer to your obvious question, mate, is look, these players, they've got a genius of a manager who will talk them through it. But the players, they're so intelligent and their football brains are fantastic that they don't need to get told once or twice what to do within their positions. And I'm sure at some point Pep will tell them all to go and play with a bit of freedom. You know, if you're Raheem Sterling and you find yourself in the number 9 position, don't be worried about, oh, I'm playing in the wing, I have to get back out there and Varane needs to be in here. They'll just let them get on with it, because they're such clever players and their game management's top class.
And I guess as well, actually, the fact, I can't remember which player it was, but speaking about now how kind of having 4 years playing together, I guess that kind of does something different to your game as well. I mean, you guys will know it from when you played a few seasons. Does it take your game to a different level?
It does, and you end up knowing it's telepathy. Yeah, that's easy for me to say, isn't it? It is, and you know, if you're playing with players week in, week out, season in, season out, you know what they're going to do 9 times out of 10 when they get the ball, and your teammates react off of that. So the fact that this group has been together for so long, and the longer they are together, the better they're going to get.
Really is. Thank you, gents. Right, now, one player who is on the bench, and I think we're all excited to see just because we're hearing of his heroics in the Premier League too, is James McAteer. We were treated to a few glimpses in performance of him in the pre-season. He is on the bench along with Cole Palmer, and we got to speak to him, of course, after him getting the Premier League 2 Player of the Month for August.
So, James, congratulations on winning Premier League 2 Player of the Month for August. Describe how you're feeling right now.
When I found out, I was obviously over the moon. I worked hard during the month and I got some goals, so yeah, I was just happy to win the award.
Yeah, is it nice to be honoured for something like this? A bit of recognition for the hard work, as you say, that you've put in?
Yeah, of course, because I've been playing for 23 now for 2 years. Unfortunately, I didn't win it last year, but this year's first month, I got the award, which is good.
And it's been a really successful start to both the Premier League 2 season and also in the EFL Trophy. So are you pleased with how we've done so far?
Yeah, I'm very pleased with the lads. We're top of the league and we've got 2 wins in both cups. So yeah, it's been a great start.
And is there a particular game or goal that really stands out for you that you're really pleased with?
I'm going to say the 3rd goal against United to complete my hat-trick. That made me happy as well.
Yeah, fantastic. And you've already matched your Premier League 2 goal tally for last season. Not saying that you didn't perform brilliantly last season, but that's an incredible feat. So is getting forward and sort of making those late runs something that you've really worked on this summer and moving forward?
Yeah, in the summer I think I've worked on my finishing a lot, and I just want to try and add as many goals and assists as I can to the team, to help the team out.
And if you had to narrow it down, is there anything in particular that you think has really made this purple patch happen for you?
I'd probably say my working with some of my players in the summer, helping me do finishing, and like some of my friends back home, like coming out with me and helping me do some of my finishing.
Brilliant. So just going with your mates after
yeah, just having fun and just relaxing and doing football.
And your teammate Ty Soji and also Brian Barry Murphy have both said in recent weeks the influence that you have on other players at EDS level. Do you feel like you sort of have almost a senior role at that level for the others?
I don't really notice it, but like Brian's been telling me, I speak to Ty quite a lot, and he says like when I speak to him, I help him out. When I speak to the other lads, I help them out. I don't really understand like my influence on them, which is good to hear, but I don't try and look at it like that. I just try and help everyone out as much as I can.
Brilliant. Well, congratulations on the award, James, and thanks for chatting.
Thank you.
That there, of course, is the Premier League 2 Player of the Month, our very own James McAteer, who scored 2 successive hat-tricks. Once against Blackburn, and then we're seeing it here, one against United, game after another. Paul, within the academy, we all know the wealth of talent that we have in our academy, but there's always a couple of players that are always just singled out as that bit special, Phil Foden being one of them. James McAteer seems to be the next one that's crept up in conversation, and with the performances we're seeing now over the last 2 seasons, he really looks like he could go all the way just like Phil has done.
He is, and he's the real deal. Talking about the players we've got playing tonight being versatile. He can play as the 9, he can play as the false 9, he can play from coming in wide areas, but he's like Cole Palmer in a way that he's very intelligent in the positions he picks up. He likes to pick up little pockets. Because his centre-half's a problem if he's playing as a 9, because sometimes he just stands in between them. And as we've seen here, 2 hat-tricks recently. When he gets a chance of goal, he's clinical, and he's got everything going for him at the minute. And he's at the right club, and it looks as if, like Phil has been, like Cole Palmer, like Liam Delap is as well, that he's getting managed in the right way. He's getting dipped in and out of the first team squad. He's training the first team all the time, and his performances for the under-23s have been amazing.
It was the different finishes as well, wasn't it? That's what looks
all
really good.
Goals.
All sorts of different finishes, quick run on shoulders and left foot, right foot, just leaving him in the right place at the right time. What about his backflip? Did you ever do a backflip, Paul?
I'd done one, but I dislocated my hip afterwards. I was out for about 3 weeks afterwards. So.
I always think the physios watching them celebrations at times must be like, don't do that, it's not needed. But as well, I think, one thing we've not had a chance to even highlight there as well is his vision. I can't remember which game it was in the pre-season, but dare I say it, some David Silva-esque vision and passing, which is quite incredible to see for an 18-year-old Brownie when you are able to pick those passes.
Yeah, it's great. It's having the confidence and the belief to do it. So you're getting in the area, you see it. Will you execute? Will you try it? Because when you're playing with these players, you give the ball away, and straight away they're going to be on you.
Yeah.
And that's the difference as a young player. So you're a bit tense, you're a bit nervous at times to do that, because one like Kevin De Bruyne will say, keep the ball. So you're always conscious of it, but dare you try it. Dare you put another one on and take that criticism, take the ball again and go for it. And that's the difference. And that's where you sort of sink or swim as a young player. And that's where they've got to be brave tonight.
Looking at kind of young players making the jump to the first team, I was kind of asking you before, but just for yourselves, do you remember coming in for that first game? I mean, it was here for you, wasn't it, Brownie?
Yeah, it did. Coming through at Manchester City, through the academy, it was fantastic to be in and around it. And I didn't have too much time to think about it. I'd made the squad, got involved, and all of a sudden, I didn't think, I thought I was just travelling for experience. Then I was on the bench. And then all of a sudden I got on. Wow. So you didn't even know you're even training with the first team. So mine was very quick, less time to think about it for that development sort of stage in your career. And I was just thrown straight in, enjoyed it. And from then on, you are nervous. And it's the best feeling in the world when you first put that shirt on and walk down that tunnel. Their legs will be nervous. They'll be shaking as they come out of the tunnel. And what a feeling. It's just the best ever. And you'll go to bed tonight and they'll say, I've played for Manchester City, and all that years and years of practice and desire and effort. I just think it's it's just a special moment, and you get your shirt signed afterwards by all the players that you keep for that one. It's a great touch.
Have you still got that shirt somewhere?
Yeah, well, I got sent off. I would have got a shirt when I did it. I got sent off on my debut.
No, you didn't.
Yeah, I did.
Well, start as you mean to go on, Brownie, innit?
No, I don't know what you're trying to say. I pulled somebody's shirt at QPR away and got sent off. Yeah.
Oh, did no one tell the ref it was you?
Obviously not, mate.
Obviously
extremely
not.
Young. So,
and for you, because you were down in Arsenal, weren't you, Paul? I mean, what was that like? Especially coming kind of from Scotland to then being in London. That must have been a hell of an experience.
It was amazing, and I'd been at the club about 2.5 years before I actually broke into the first team squad. It was a tough school at that time as well. And Brownie's talking about sink or swim. When you're training with players like Tony Adams, Steve Bold, Martin Keown, tough boys,
wow.
Ian Wright. They let you know if you're not doing things properly. But they were great for me, as people talk to me now about my time at Arsenal and think, do you regret going there as a kid? Should you have went somewhere else, you would have played more often. Not at all. The football education I got at that time, you know, for the 7.5 years I was there, really set me on, because the player standards were so high, and if you didn't meet their standards, you were left behind. You know, so it was a sink or swim scenario. But making my debut, it had been, at the time there was only 3 subs, you know, and I was always 14th man all the time, you know. So if it was a game at Highbury and George Graham used to name the team and then the subs, and I'll be like, missed out again, travelling away, sitting in the stand on your own, being the one that was left over. And we played Southampton at home, and I'd actually played for the youth team in the morning.
No way, really,
at London Colney in the South East Counties League. And Pat Rice took me off about 20 minutes to go, and I was raging that he took me off. And he went, before he said anything, he said, go and get changed, you're in the first team squad this afternoon. So I went straight down there thinking I was going to be 14th man again. George put me on the bench, and I came on with, I think, 67 minutes against Southampton.
Wow.
And the first touch of the ball in professional football, Ken Muncow, remember the big centre-half, literally booted me into 4 rows up into the stand and looked at me as if to say, this is what it's all about. Welcome, this is what it's all about.
Did you go?
I got up, I dusted myself down, and I absolutely nailed him the next time he got the ball. So straight away, true, the first team was, they were like, we're having him.
Yeah.
Because he's not singing, he's not shucking anything.
And I guess that's what's going to be important for these boys tonight, especially when we're going to come to the team in just a second that Wycombe have starting. But it is going to have to be, you're going to have to really step up and make sure you announce yourself and say, I'm here just to match you as much as you are to match me.
Well, I think the physicality has changed slightly regards to that tackle where you can lift somebody and you go in like myself and Paul. Really enjoyed that physical battle. So the challenge at this football club will be taking the ball. Where dare you take in difficult situations, be brave on it. Yes, stand up physically when you need to. And it's a different scenario tactically. You can imagine the detail that Pep Guardiola gives you, so the knowledge of where you've got to stand, where you've got to drop off, where you've got to step in, cover, come round. So there's all those different things that the young players have got to think about. So it's great challenges, but it's the journey, isn't it? It's the special moment of getting that opportunity that you all have to go through. And you see so many players at this stage, and unfortunately, some don't get the chance again. Yeah. And they don't always perform, and it sort of fades away. And you've seen many young players who've took that chance, scored a couple of goals and extremely well, and away they go into their career.
As well as there's a little bit of pressure on them, because everybody in this stadium knows how fantastic our academy is. People from the outside looking in knows how it is. So there'll be a bit of pressure on them, but they've got to embrace it.
Yeah.
They've got to go out there and enjoy it, go out there and play with no fear, and I'm sure that's the message Pep, his staff, and especially the senior lads are playing with, will be giving them before they go out there tonight.
Absolutely, and they have just taken to the pitch now. They're warming up behind us here in the Etihad Stadium, no doubt a mixture of nerves and excitement for the young boys. Let's talk about, though, of course, the CARABAO Cup, or sometimes I like to call it, I probably shouldn't say this, the Manchester City Cup. I say that because it's, I know, I apologise. But, that's 4 cups in 4 seasons, going on to try and make it 5 in a row. You can't underestimate, one, that achievement, but also, obviously, how serious Manchester City take every trophy that they enter, and that's proof in the pudding.
Well, I think that sets the tone from the manager, doesn't it? When he first came into the football club, he realised that, yes, it's the Premier League, what he wanted to get straight away, but then he wanted to build a mentality all around the football club that we don't accept anything second best on any training session, any game, any draw that Manchester City are involved in. And I think, even when they win 4-0, you see him still standing on the side going crazy. We have a debrief about things that are not right. It's the standards, it's the level the football club's at and what he demands. And I think that's what breeds the success, breeds how good and how developed the football club have become. So, yeah, it's expected. Is
that, I guess, one of the biggest markers of shift to go over, the last decade of where Manchester City are at now is actually, the Carabao Cup is that example, I guess?
It is. Look, I said it last year, the year before, the last 4 years that we've won it, but the club deserve a huge amount of credit for the respect that they've actually shown the Carabao Cup, where a lot of teams don't. And Pep's used it. Brownie said they're always talking about the next game, winning the next game. He's always, I know there's a few kids in tonight, but it's always been a strong team regardless what round it's in. And if anything, I know for a fact they used the Carabao Cup and getting to the final as a catalyst for that run into the end of the season. Getting to the final, winning that final gives them the confidence. We've got the first trophy in the bag. Let's go for the next one. Let's go for the next one. Let's go for the next one. And they've showed that. And it'll be the same this season. They will want to win tonight. They'll want to win the next round. They'll want to get to Wembley in February, March time and win it again, because that breeds success the run in, the tough run in that we've always got towards the end of the season.
Yeah, you forget it gives them that momentum to carry
Absolutely.
them through. Just had it in my ear, actually. Of course, you know, our under-21s are playing in the EFL Cup. A name that you will all know, Dozy has put us 1-0 up against Doncaster, and what a pre-season he had and what a season he is having as well. He also was fantastic, I believe, in the UEFA Youth League that happened against RB Leipzig in the week. We got a question for you, Michael, just around kind of Cole Palmer. Really, he's on the bench. Do you think he might be a little bit gutted that he's not made that starting 11 when he's probably looking and seeing his mates are all there at the back?
Well, there was one question I got asked down at City Square just before, is which player are you looking forward to seeing tonight? And it was Cole Palmer. I thought he was a definite to play. I thought he's at that level now. He's getting closer to the first team. So exciting. And I sort of mentioned to Paul, didn't I, that I know there's championship clubs desperate to take him. We're going to say we're going to play him every week. We see where he's at. But unfortunately, the club said, we're going to stay, we're going to keep him where he is, and rightly so, because they feel he's right in the mix to develop. But what goes against him slightly is you look at that midfield forward advanced area and the players, and that's what we talked about McAteer, about getting that role. Unfortunately, Pep feels that he wants to field those players. So at that point, you know, how do you fit him in? And just looking at Cole Palmer's there, you know, when he made that debut last year, I thought he was a little bit unselfish. There was times he got into some good areas, and I thought he should have took it on. It was a square pass, and that's maybe that nervous tension as a young player to not take that challenge on, not be greedy enough to go and say, I'm going to score, I'm going to try and set somebody else up, you know. So it's he's an exciting player. He's great to watch, and you know, hopefully he'll get on the pitch, but he will be disappointed.
He'll be disappointed, but you know, sometimes as a young player, and you feel as if you should be in there. You look at who's ahead of you, and you think, I'm a bit better than him, but look at the 5 he's got ahead of him there, so you've got to accept that a little bit. But I agree with Brownie completely. You know, last season when he did get his chance, he did look a little bit nervous and took the safe option a little bit too much. But pre-season he was outstanding, and then, you know, his confidence is a massive high, getting MOM for England under 21, scoring a fantastic goal.
Yes.
You know, so every chance he gets to propel himself to that next level, he's taking it. And I'm sure he'll get on tonight and take his, not just tonight, but he'll take his chance this season whenever he gets it.
He's there
Absolutely.
for me. I think he's right on the fringe of the squad. He's, you know, it's just circumstance tonight why he hasn't got that run out.
Yeah. Also, a quick final word just on Romeo Lavia. Now, that's a name I think we've heard kind of whispered around for the last couple of years. We signed him from, you can see him there, he's just in the middle. He was actually spotted. I think there was a kind of trophy tournament that takes place over in Belgium, and Guardiola was watching it and I think singled him out. We signed him then from Anderlecht, and he's kind of been fast-tracked. He got Player of the Season for the Under-23s last year. He's only 17. It is number 90 on the screen there, if you can see. But we got Player of the Year for the EDS at only 17, put straight in the first team. It does seem that Pep and the club kind of have obviously seen something there that they really believe in, and he's starting in that crucial role.
Well, he's starting in that crucial role, which you'd think long term, where would he be? Where would he finally get that place into a Manchester City side? And it often tells you when they're going by the player at that age, do you know, of where he's going to be. Fast track quite quickly, they see it straight away. The football club are always looking. Yes, there's younger players at age 13 who we see today who've been signed for big money. But later on in your career, you feel when they go and sign him at 17s, 18s, that these are ones that are going to go into the squad and be more permanent.
Yeah, very excited to see him this evening. Let's take a look then at our opponents tonight. We welcome Wycombe Wanderers to the Etihad Stadium as we begin our defence, of course, of our League Cup crown. This is them turning up at the Etihad Stadium a little bit earlier. I think as well we had a great interview, rock and roll. I'm jealous of his hair, actually. I need to ask him what products he uses. But also as well, there's the big man, Akinfenwa, the beast. Let me bring you the starting 11 then. And it looks like this. They have got Stockdale in net. Looking like a back four of Jacobson, Gabe, Stewart, and how do I say that name, Paul? You know him well.
Joe Jacobson.
Joe Jacobson, thank you very much. Gabe, Stewart, Tavazoli, Wheeler, Kakai, Hanlon, Akinfenwa, who we saw there as captain, Obita and McCarthy. On the bench, they've got Prisbeck, Grimmer, Thompson, Vokes, of course, a name that might be a little bit familiar to you, as an ex-Burnley player there, McCleary, Horgan and Scowen. Coming to you, Paul, because I know that, once again, with a lot of these loading teams, there's a lot of players there you've either coached or actually managed. What are we going to see from some of these players, and who should we be singling out?
It's an experienced team, you know, and Gareth's not I know he was saying he was going to make quite a few changes and mix her up a little bit, but he's went strong, or probably as strong as they can go. You know, David Stockdale, an old teammate of mine in goal, who was at Leicester with Joe Jacobson. He was my left back at Oldham. Sully Kai I signed on loan at Doncaster for Crystal Palace. Jordan Obita, who's a winger, quick winger, who I had on loan yet again at Oldham from Reading. So there's some talented players in there. Probably some players that should have kicked on a little bit higher. That's no disrespect to Wycombe, but look, if Man City plays, they can play tonight, but Wycombe, especially the big man Akinfenwa up front, they'll be looking to try and bully the centre halves, pick up second balls, like I said, and look to get the likes of Jordan Abita and Sully Kai in behind, because they'll get pace about them.
Yeah, sorry, Paul, just an update as well. It's 1-1. Doncaster have equalised in the EFL trophy game that the under-21s are taking part in. We will, of course, keep you updated with any more goals. City Plus is where you can watch that, so you can have us going on YouTube or wherever you're watching it, and have the game on going next to it. Just go and subscribe, you'll be well away. What do you think will be their style play? Because they'll be turning up, and I think Akinfenwa did an interview saying that when they saw it, they were like, we're not going to see much of the ball. So do you think they'll have been maybe looking to do the quick transition counter-attack possibly?
Well, Akinfenwa won't be looking to run around and press. He doesn't run at all. But what he'll be just that figurehead at the top of the pitch. But he's only scored 2 in 44 appearances. So all that, the what he brings to Wycombe Wanderers, and he's been there for such a long time, he hasn't actually contributed on the pitch so much lately. He's not playing, he's age 39 now or something. Wow. So, but the rest of the squad, I think what he builds on as well is 100%. They've got to be physical. They've got to be hard to beat. Organised, and he's been there for such a long time. He's like the longest serving manager now, Gareth Ainsworth, so it tells you everything. And they always have a bit of experience, and I think they can surprise you at times with their style of play. It's not always attractive, but they can catch you out.
And they'll have a lot of energy. The one thing Gareth does is make sure his teams are fit and super fit. So as much as Akinfenwa, all joking apart, won't be running behind, they'll have legs in and around them to try and set pieces is massive. I was talking about Joe Jacobson. He's got fantastic left foot, corners, free kicks. He's got great delivery. So they'll be looking to, as a lot of teams do, sit in there, look to hit us in the break, and look to capitalise on set pieces because they've got fantastic delivery.
So there it is. That's a little bit of analysis on Wycombe Wanderers. We can, of course, tell you as well, we've got a WhatsApp now for Matchday Live, so that is the way that you can get involved and directly have a connection to the show. If you've got any questions, burning questions you've had for, of course, club legends Paul Dickov or Michael Brown, get them into the WhatsApp. We've got someone behind there who's going to be working through them, and they'll send them through to me, and I can put them to our very special guests. Very, very easy. Just use, I think there'll be a number there on the bottom now for you to use. You can use that. Let's take a look at today's Cryptic City. So we show you some clues, and you have to work out who is the Manchester City player, past or present. You can use the hashtag Man City. You can even WhatsApp it us. If you've got any guesses, keep them to yourself for now in the studio. Whoa, I don't know. I have no idea on this one. Any guesses, Brownie? No?
Struggling.
We'll have to try and break it down off air.
I've got it.
You've got it?
Yeah.
Oh, wow, okay. You'll love this. We had a great one last week, and it was Sean Wright Phillips, and it was quite an obvious one, really, I must say. Shawnee, no idea. Absolutely no idea. But if you want to get your guesses in, we're going to hear Paul's off air, and we'll bring it you at half-time and full-time. That is how you can get involved, and hopefully one of you, if you're matching Paul, one of you will already have got that. Me and Brownie, we're a little bit slow on there, right?
Struggling.
We really, really are struggling.
Too young.
Do you reckon?
Too young these are, yeah.
For the clue there.
For the clues, not for the player. That's what I'm saying.
There's the clue then from Paul Dickov there. There's a little treat for you to help you along your way. Let's talk about Fran Torres. We touched about him at the start of the show. He's starting today. We're going to think in that kind of false nine striker role. Well, we sat down with him a little bit earlier on in the week, and we were asking him to basically look at the team and choose who is his ultimate footballer in certain areas. Great little watch this. Check it out.
Hola, soy Ferran Torres y estamos aquí. Voy a elegir a mis compañeros para crear al perfecto Ultimate Footballer. A ver, yo creo que el más inteligente es Bruyne.
Bruyne skipped in towards the back post. It's found its way in. Kevin De Bruyne gets the goal.
Bueno, he elegido a De Bruyne porque sabemos lo inteligente que es dentro del campo, también fuera, pero bueno, dentro sabemos la calidad que tiene y los pases que mete, y por eso lo he elegido. Yo creo que más gracioso, Scott, porque bueno, tiene un gran carácter, hace mucho grupo, hace muchas bromas y bueno, es uno de los más así con buen sentido del humor. A ver, el que más visión tiene, pondría a Phil, porque bueno, sabemos el tipo de jugador que es, dentro del campo es increíble jugar con él, tiene mucha visión, puede jugar en muchas posiciones y por eso lo pondría ahí. Sin duda, Fernandinho, creo es nuestro capitán, es nuestro líder, el que obviamente nos hace estar unidos, el que en las malas nos hace estar más unidos, que es cuando más lo necesitamos, y es para mí un orgullo poder jugar con él. El que más corazón, yo creo que es Rubén, porque desde que vino ya el año pasado se le ha visto con esa personalidad que de liderazgo, de estar unido, de unirnos a la gente y eso es muy importante.
Stay together in the pitch, whatever happens, stay together. Be there for the guy next to you. Be there for him.
A pie derecho, yo creo que pondría a Cancelo, porque bueno, tiene un magnífico pie derecho, es un jugador muy bueno y ya sabemos el pie derecho que tiene. Percha, a ver, ¿quién es el que mejor viste? A ver. Pondría a lo mejor a Gundo, porque bueno, es un señor, viste muy bien y yo creo que lo pondría ahí. Pulmón. Gabriel Jesus, sin duda, porque se pasa todo el partido corriendo de arriba abajo, no se cansa, nos ayuda mucho y yo creo que sin duda es él. Piernas, yo creo que Kyle, sin duda, porque bueno, es muy fuerte, es un toro, se los come a todos y sin duda tiene unas piernas enormes. Fuerte, Raheem, porque bueno, ya lo vemos cuando choca con los defensores, que es un bicho también, que va muy fuerte. Tatuajes, a ver, de los que me quedan, tatuajes, Ederson, sin duda, tiene casi todo el cuerpo tatuado y se ve sin duda que le gustan mucho.
Yeah, at the back. Look at him. The lion, the ball, the glovers.
Pie izquierdo, sin duda, Riyad, tiene un guante en el pie izquierdo, es muy bueno y bueno, es un placer jugar con él. Bueno, yo creo que no hace falta describir el jugador que sería si tuviéramos cada cosa de lo que he puesto aquí y bueno, no hace falta describirlo.
Thank you, Ferran Torres. And there is Phil Foden warming up on the pitch just behind us. We are now always live at the Etihad for Matchday Live. And if you've just joined us, there's been a few changes from the game against Southampton. As we all thought, a lot of our academy players coming into the starting 11 as we take in Wycombe Wanderers. Just to name you a few. Basically, the whole back four is our academy. We've got CJ Egan-Riley, Luke Mbete, Finley Burns, Joshua Wilson-Esbrand. He was that left back that was on the bench against Southampton. Signed him from West Ham, I think, 2 years ago. He had a great first season, was unlucky to be injured then for the following season. So Big things, I think, to come for Joshua. Luke Mbete, who you might know from the FA Youth Cup final, absolutely beasted it against Chelsea. He's a player I've been really excited to see. Romeo Lavia is holding, another player I've been so excited to make his break into the first team. And then a forward five of basically Kevin De Bruyne, that man there, Phil Foden, Riyad Mahrez, Raheem Sterling, and Ferran Torres, who was just speaking about his ultimate footballer. First of all, the one for me was he gave Gabriel Jesus the one with all the, kind of all the energy. I'd have given that Bernardo Silva personally, and don't know if there was any others for you that. Oh, look at that! Hello, is that Edison? Of course it is. That is Edison.
He's challenging your clothes now, isn't he?
Hey, no, you apparently sent in a message afterwards asking about a few of the things I was wearing, including my hats, the trainers as well.
To grow his hair and everything. I see it.
I wanted to ask you both though, just for yourself, just a couple of the ones there. First of all, strongest player that you played with in your time, gents. If there was the one that comes to mind, who was the strongest?
At City.
Yeah. Or even actually just through your career, who was the strongest do you think you came up against or played with?
City, I think Big Andy. You wouldn't have messed with Big Andy Morrison. Probably throughout my career with Tony Adams, without a shadow of a doubt.
Oh, wow.
So you wouldn't think that, would you? Do you know with his frame of Tony Adams, where you say the strongest, actually quite lean, quite
strong
tall,
as an oxen. I mean, the amount of times, I won't go into too much detail at half-time, I would literally have players by the neck.
Really, yeah.
Up against the wall, telling them, in the nicest possible way, of course, but telling them to sort themselves out, and literally feet off the ground sort of things.
Wow.
He was super, super strong, and just an unbelievable captain.
And just one, did he do it to you?
He didn't have to, mate. My feet were off the ground. he had to bend down to pick me up and try and do it.
That's genius. Yeah. We were saying as well, though, because, I mean, maybe something behind the scenes knowledge, but apparently Raheem Sterling, one of the biggest bench pressers in the team. And, again, not someone you'd think to associate as the strongest, but you watch him and he's impossible to get off the ball, Raheem.
Yeah, he is impossible to get off. And he obviously works on that strength. We know how quick he is, for sure, but... you hear in the gym, he's working at it every single day, and the amount of bench presses, as you said, and you wouldn't think that, would you? About Raheem Sterling being one of the strongest in the whole group at lifting weights. So it just tells you got that inner strength.
For you, man, what was one of the most skillful players that you either played with or came up against?
Well, so we can say Paul or...
No, he's definitely not skillful, mate. Come on, we know that. Let me chase it.
I mean, to be honest, I think we've got to look, and I think many people inside the Etihad will have witnessed Georgie King-Clatsy. And that's an early one for me growing up. And I often say that, yes, later on in my career, playing at Spurs with some unbelievably talented players, I still go back to the one I first come across, which was Georgie King-Clatsy, what he could do with the ball. And as you know, one who I would want to go and be physical with him, go and get the ball, and you couldn't. So you talk about strength. He had a low sense of gravity, and he actually could just hold you off, move the ball in other ways. Fabulous talent, and there's that left foot that could just move around.
I'll put him a little mucker. I keep calling him Little Mucker because he's smaller than Sean Wright-Phillips in that category as well. Sean was super skillful, but so hard to knock off the ball. We used to say he's like a Weeble, to Weeble's wobble, but they don't fall down. He used to get knocked down, bounce straight back up again and go after people. Not just quick, but super skillful as well.
With King-Clatsy, when he did turn up, I mean, because for a lot of City fans watching, we'd never, seen a player with that skill, but then being able to put it on a pitch. There's doing it in training, but then doing it in a match. What was he like in training? Was he doing stuff you'd never seen before?
Yeah, he was incredible. Like I said to you, the ball would get rolled into him. And what you realise about the top players is even if you're next to them and you could be physical and strong, they're still comfortable with the ball. So they have the hand there, they could take it one way, then the other, and he could do that very early on, where now we've seen it. David Silva was unbelievable at it, wasn't he, of keeping the ball away. But Georgie King-Clatsy, very, very early, how he could move it, how he could do different things. And an aside, let's be honest, that wasn't that successful. So it struggled, he then got relegated. So if we'd have seen him in a top side being in that free role, I think he'd have gone on to an unbelievable career. And just circumstance didn't
That's
help
one
him.
of the crying shame about Georgie, and he says it himself, is that he didn't really get himself to that levels, because he was that talented, know, and I was lucky enough to, not play with a lot, but train with likes of Dennis Bergkamp and there were players like that. He should have been up in that category, because it used to drive me nuts in training. You wanted to smash him, but you couldn't get anywhere near him. Both of us were these sort of players, but he would wind you up, because you would think you would have him, they would just do a little quick drop the shoulder with nutmeg and start laughing as he was running around you. You know, you wanted to throttle him, but what a super talent he was.
Really, really was. And I know a lot of fans speak about kind of it was what a joy it was to watch him play. Couple of questions that have come in on the WhatsApp for you guys in the studio, and remember you can do the same, get them in. The first one is, I think I can answer this actually, because it's come from Madhav, who's asking about the logic behind delaying Liam Delap in the first team this season. He is actually coming back from an injury. I think he only returned to training last week. He then played in the EDS team as well. I think he came back and got a goal straight away. So now he seems to be back to match fitness, but he has been injured. He is playing for the under-21s tonight in that game against Doncaster, which currently stands at 1-1. But then it brings to this next question from Carlo, and I'm going to open this to you both. He says, hello to you all guys in the studio. Big greetings from Croatia. Massive fan. What do you think, how desperate we are in need for a forward, or do you think Delap could be the future killer that we need up front?
I think he certainly showed signs of being a successful striker, somebody who's got a couple of goals, physically strong, he's got a presence at the top of the pitch. Injury won't have helped him at the start of this season, where these are the type of games he'll have wanted to have been involved in. Is it a big ask to go and play the lead in number 9 at this moment in time? Yes, it is. You've got to develop. We've seen how long it takes younger players to get to this level. This is the top level. You can't just walk into that sort of structure. So, listen, he's there. He's one everybody's watching and looking out for. And I think he's got a great chance to go and have a real successful career.
He's the real deal. For somebody so young, you know, he's big, he's powerful, he's quick. And he can finish all types of finishes as well, you know, strong in the air, left foot, right foot, inside the box, outside the box. But he is going to take time, you know, he's just 18, I think he is, 18, 19. You know, the injuries probably came at the wrong time, because we probably would have seen him a lot more at this pre-season and at the start of the season. But once he gets his opportunity, and especially the amount of chances we create,
I think he's physically developed as well, Paul, isn't he?
He's massive,
he's actually big, you know, for his age. He's actually well on, and he's, you know, as his dad, he's got that pedigree as well, that understanding. He was very strong as well, wasn't he?
The one thing we do know, like McAteer that we're talking about, and the other younger players that are coming in, we've seen it with Phil Foden, it'll get managed properly, and when it's the right time to put them in, they'll get put in, because that's the route the club's going now. You know, talking about Cole Palmer going out on loan before, we don't send our players out on loan like that now. You know, the ones that are really, really pushing it into the first team squad, we keep them within the system, because we know that's the best place for them to be.
This one came from Adam Dawes. I think it's a great one actually, but it's very simple. What is the one City moment you wish you could relive? Ooh.
Well, I think we know.
You know,
I think we know.
I'm still living it now. Still living off the back of it now.
It was that infamous. We had the flag, didn't we, of the celebration, and the fans weren't here. Was that? I mean, of course, it's got to be.
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of the represent my country, make my debut. It's up there with the highlights of my career. It's got to be, you know, to score at Wembley and at a time where the club weren't in great shape, you know. And I keep saying it. It seems over the last 10 years that sort of escalated that goal a little bit in that game a little bit, because the success that the club's had in the pitch, whereas before, you know, and Bruyne will be the same, living in Manchester, fans would come up and thank you for that game. Not really, they knew the importance of it, but it didn't seem as important.
Yes.
But I think because the level at the club are now, it's nostalgic and a bit nicer to look back at that as the catalyst to where the club is now.
Yeah, which it was, and gosh, do we thank you for it? Do we thank you both for it? What about for you, Brownie? Is there a particular moment?
I think I've played in some unbelievable, you know, games throughout my career, so it's hard to actually say. And I think there's one actually special one for Manchester City where I was on the receiving end when I was playing for Spurs, 3-0 up at half time. And Man City lead was 4-3.
Yeah,
so you're actually talking about reliving a game. That was one I might want to relive, but change the outcome when I was on the pitch. So, no, walking out cup final and being very proud for a side at Portsmouth, for instance, when you're going out of business, and to go and beat a Spurs side who are at the top. So many occasions of dream games that you know that you can't sort of relive. So I was so lucky to play in loads of different games. So it was. I think you're lucky to have played in as many games as we did.
Yeah, you know, too.
Speaking of reliving moments, I think we're right in saying that you both were in the team when Manchester City last played against Wycombe. Unfortunately, it wasn't a great result for us.
Can't remember that.
No, the white one from the memory. But there was a great quote that came out of it, because of course it was one that we lost, but about Joe Royle saying it was one of the angriest he's ever been. So I wonder, could you Like, you remember that post-match team talk? Because then he also spoke about that, like he tried to slam a door and it came off and it just made everybody laugh or something.
I just think that was the state Main Road was in at the time. Do you know what? I don't know about you, Brown. I can't really remember that happening. I'm not saying the gaffer was lying, because we'll all love him to bits, but I remember doing a thing with Weaves last season, 18 months ago, about the 99 thing, and that story came up. Me and me sort of looked at each other and we couldn't
quite
really
recall
remember
it.
You know, I've seen Joe lose it a couple of times, don't get me wrong, but I can't really remember that.
No, I can't remember. I struggle with everything. But you're saying about Joe being the most angry. I remember being across the table to Joe, because we didn't really see eye to eye, and he tried to get me to go to Hull, because his mate was the manager of Hull. And I actually refused. I said, I'm not going. I'm not going to Hull, Joe. Well, we talk about steam coming out of his ears. I think he wanted me to go to Hull.
There's only two times I can remember Joe losing his head. That was the same playoff season at Stoke at half-time at Main Road. I think we spoke about that quite a lot.
Yeah.
And then I'll never forget, we played Chelsea when we get back to the Premier League. And he subbed Paolo one chop off at half-time. And Paolo was a big boy, wasn't he?
He was a
big,
beast,
strong boy. Joe wasn't having any of it. I remember sitting there thinking, Gaffer, are you all right here? Do you know what I mean? I don't really want to jump in between the both of you here. But no, and I thought, good on. But Joe was fantastic. Very rarely, it was calm, wasn't he? Very calm and collected in everything he did. But when he did lose his head, you knew. Yeah, there was a reason for it.
And was he one of them as well that kind of, you know, did he have, obviously I know you said you didn't see eye to eye, but actually I think what he seemed to have created within the team was quite a special thing at the time. Did everyone kind of have that love and respect for him, I guess?
Yeah, I think there was respect there as well, and I really think Willie Donaghy, the assistant,
Absolutely.
I thought Willie was excellent, and I felt his coaching, his ambition and his desire throughout the side to keep everybody on the straight and narrow. I think he was excellent.
The whole team were amazing, Joe's. You know, Willie, fantastic coach, one of the best coaches I had.
Yeah, he's really good.
And Asa Hartford, obviously legend here. Asa, great guy. Chappie, Les Chapman.
Chappie just made the whole world go round.
Roy
Les Chapman,
Bailey,
Brighton,
Ronnie Evans, you know, all
brilliant.
that group.
You say all those staff, and everybody deserves that sort of little bit of credit.
Absolutely.
But, you do miss those days with a Les Chapman with that fun and that. And he never say it was just crazy.
He stayed around, so I used to love Chappie as well.
Legends.
He was kind of, even though we didn't know him, all the fans knew of him.
Absolute
he
legends.
really was. On the other side of that, just quickly to though, your first game together, and don't worry, I'll jog your memory. It was actually Stoke. It was 2-1, and it was Alan Ball's final match in charge. Do you have many recollections of that game?
It was
your debut. And you think you'd already were playing? Yeah.
I signed on the Friday, came on at half-time against Stoke on the Saturday.
Wow.
And Alan Ball left on the Sunday. I was like, cheers, mate. Thanks for that. Do you know what I mean?
You should have done your homework there, Paul, shouldn't you?
I know, but funny story is, on the Thursday I was on my way down to sign for Graham Souness at Southampton.
No way.
And Jordi Armstrong, God bless him, who is my reserve team manager at Arsenal, called me and said, look, just had Alan Ball on the phone. He said, I know you think you're going to Southampton, but he said, just go and speak to him. And I remember being in the squad for Arsenal the season before at Main Road, and Arsenal battered City, ended up 1-0, Ian Wright scored, but the fans were amazing. So Jordi said to me, just go up and speak to Alan Ball. So came back around, my wife was pregnant, my first kid at the time, came up to Mottram Hall, met Alan Ball, Franny Lee, signed, and that was it.
Wow, no way. And Alan Ball there, kind of, well, doing City a favour. Thankfully he did get you here, because otherwise, you know, who knows what would have happened.
Yeah, exactly.
There we go, we've got a lot to thank Alan Ball for. Guys, if you've just tuned in, Paul Dickov, Michael Brown in the studio. Going to bring you a quick team news recap, and our starting 11 consists of Zach Stefan in net. It's a back four of a whole load of youth. CJ Egan-Riley, Luke Mbete, Finley Burns and Joshua Wilson-Esbrand are our back four. Romeo Lavia is our holding midfielder. In front of him, Kevin De Bruyne and Phil Foden. What a treat. And a forward three of Riyad Mahrez, Raheem Sterling and Ferran Torres. That are the boys there in the tunnel, almost ready to come out. We've also got Michael Brown, who's going to be on commentary in just a little bit. And before we do get these predictions, we are going to also bring you our Cryptic City. This is where we have a clue. You have to work out who the player is. Paul's more or less got it straight away. We've had a little discussion off camera. We think we've got it. So if you think you've got it, use the hashtag #ManCity.
You think you've got it? You're just believing what I said.
Yeah, I believe everything you say, Paul.
Yeah, of course.
But a former teammate of both the guests in the studio here as well. There's another clue for you. So get them in. half-time and full-time. Get them in and we'll be working through them as well. And WhatsApp as well. If you've got any questions for our guests, we've been through a few there. Just use that WhatsApp number. Before we go, gents, final thing for me to ask you both is predictions for tonight. I know it's always a little bit of a tricky one. Brownie, I'm coming to you.
Are you sure? Are you sure you were supposed to come to me, were you?
Probably not. But I've seen the twinkle in your eye and I won't go on. I like to keep them guessing in the studio.
We just talked about this before, about thinking Manchester City 3, 4, 5, you know, and then last week no score.
Yeah.
So 3-0 Manchester City.
Lovely. Okay, there we go from Randy. What about you, Paul?
I'm looking at De Bruyne, Foden, Mahrez, Sterling, Torres. I'm going 5-0.
Oh, 5-0. Big scores in the studio. Right.
What about you? Have you got time quickly? Or
I'll have time. Do you know what? I'll go 4 then. I'll go 4-0.
Right in the middle.
I'll sit right in the middle there. Well, what? I can't be cheeky and go like 6-7-0 now. Come on. Right, gents, an absolute pleasure as always. Thank you to the guys in the studio and thank you to you in the studio. The song that's being played means that the teams are coming out of the tunnel, so we're going to leave you, come back at half-time, and we'll be getting into all the first half action then at full-time. Thanks for joining us. Final thing for me to say is, come on, City.
Finals to win titles, we live for that, guys. Let's go there inside the pitch and give everything, sacrifice for each other, guys. We fought a lot for this moment. Don't drop it down.
League Cup specialists, Manchester City's quest to lift the trophy for a 4th consecutive season. Wycombe Wanderers who strikes. Mahrez with the shot wide.
You play amazing. Don't let us stress with the result. You are incredible. You're not the part.
It was a tough game. We were drawing. We had to score.
Irick Laporte has scored for City, and perhaps it is in